drifting on the waves of that arti.
Yeah, so sweet.
We're drifting on the waves of effort and grace this afternoon.
Oh, wasn't that good?
Oh my gosh. I might have to listen to the recording just to take it all in. It was so dense.
Yeah, that was we that first that first subchapter or whatever, that first section took us a while. We spent about half of the time on that one spiritual bypass.
So
Yeah,
rich, though. So much to
yeah.
discuss there.
It's amazing how Darwin got all of those subtleties in there, paragraph by paragraph. I have a few quotes just to stimulate your brains at this late hour. This is one from Rumi, and it's a famous one. Um, the minute I first heard my love story, I started looking for you, not knowing how blind that was. Lovers don't finally meet somewhere, they're in each other all along. I'll read that one again. The minute I heard my first love story, I started looking for you, not knowing how blind that was. Lovers don't just finally meet somewhere, they're in each other all along. That's Rumi.
Wow.
This is from the Song of the New Life. Let despair and disappointment ravage and destroy the garden of your life. You beautify it once again by the seedlings of contentment and self-sufficiency. Let despair and disappointment ravage and destroy the garden of your life. You beautify it once again by the seedlings of contentment and self-sufficiency. This is this being a Women's History Month. This is Rabia of Basra, who later became Baba Jan. Baba said, "When I entered God, my vision became like his. It flooded out over all existence. I knew no limits. The future I can now see with as much certainty as the past. If I stretched my arm its full length, I could caress any creature in this universe. And Rabia does not exaggerate." Here's one that Erich had by his room. Harmony begins when ambition ends. Harmony begins when ambition ends. And here's the last one. This is for Orang. This is Rumi. Out beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right doing, there is a field. I'll meet you there. When the soul lies down in that grass, the world is too full to talk about. Ideas, language, even the phrase each other doesn't make any sense. Out beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right doing, there is a field, I'll meet you there. When the soul lies down in that grass, the world is too full to talk about. Ideas and language, even the phrase each other doesn't make any sense. That's Rumi.
Beautiful. You remind me of something. You remind me of something that Bob said.
Yeah.
Bob said, "I'm tired of this world, and I will see you. I will. I will see you later." He never said goodbye to me.
Uh-huh.
He never said goodbye to me. He said, I'm tired of this world. I will see you later. He
Yeah,
said he'll be on my side.
beautiful.
It's a blessing.
Yeah, meet him in that field of grass.
By his
Kathy,
grace.
how are you today? Good?
I'm great, thank you. How are you? How
Yeah.
are you?
Did you tune into any of the things today? And
Just the arti. I wasn't able to do the other parts today.
yeah, I missed a number of things today, I think, myself. Diane, you got anything on the stove there?
We're still eating Passover dinner leftovers, so nothing.
Oh.
That was my literal answer, but
Yeah.
you said something, or somebody said something earlier in Effort and Grace that has, I've been having a really hard time feeling really burnt out. Oh shoot, and now this is recorded for all posterity.
Oh, yeah.
Oh well. It was the conversation about how shadows can, if you stand in the right light, the shadows can be behind you
Yeah.
instead of in front of you. And I think I need to, how do you make that switch?
Yeah. How to turn toward, Baba being the light, any kind of remembrance of Baba. But even when I've total exhausted and everything, I'll just go on with Baba's name. At least I'm connecting. I just kind of keep connecting to the light, even if I can't see it, so to speak, even if I can't feel it. Baba's name, or at least something, some remembrance of Baba keeps you, 1 foot in the light. But being burnt out is what can I say? I'll just tell you, when I used to work out there at Mehrnaz N, and I would get out there in the morning before the pilgrims came. And, I get out there maybe 8:30, and the mandali, I would see the mandali, they would be all kind of hunched over, walking around up till about 9:30. Then, by 10, they were kind of a little more upright. By 11, they were kind of standing erect. And then the buses arrived, and so they would just give and give and give. And then after the buses left, then they would come, they would be just like that. The place would become like an ashram. I mean, like, no one said anything except the bare minimums, but they're all trying to regenerate for the next day. It's one of those things, if you're sensitive to the world, it'll wear you out, besides your job, but the world and the heaviness of the world is a battle to stay above it. I that's my experience. I have to make, I have to say Baba's name inwardly just to keep up my vitality from the heart. But it's I don't know if there's any shortcut around it. I don't think there's a spiritual bypass on this. I don't know.
Hey, Jeff.
Yeah.
I found something I thought I can quickly read here.
Yeah.
So this is from Lord Meher, and Baba gave this message in the month of March 1936 in Mysore in India. So the title of this is Inner Communication Between a Lover and Master. Baba says, the inner voice is the surest means of communication and never fails to reach me. But the response, whether prompt or slow, depends on the sweet will of the master and should never give any grounds for disappointment to a soul if its voice is not promptly responded to. In that silence too, there is a meaning and reason, as a master alone knows. As a master alone knows. He sees far, far ahead and works not for immediately satisfying results, but for the ultimate aim and good of the dear one who has come to him seeking aid and guidance. I don't know if I read it the way it should be.
Beautiful. Any chance you could send that to me?
Yeah, sure.
That's a read that
Yeah.
quote again. That's a beautiful quote.
Yeah,
Really, I hadn't heard this one.
Yeah, I read it for the first time. You know, my brother maintains his website. He sends a message every day. So this one has come up today. So anyway,
So
let me
Diane,
read
listen
that.
to this. This is a good. Yeah, go ahead.
The title, Inner Communication Between a Lover and Master. The inner voice is the surest means of communication and never fails to reach me. But the response, whether prompt or slow, depends on the sweet will of the master and should never give any grounds for disappointment to a soul if its voice is not promptly responded to. In that silence too, there is a meaning and reason, as the master alone knows. He sees far, far ahead and works not for immediately satisfying results, but for the ultimate aim and good of the dear one who has come to him seeking aid and guidance. This is from Lord Meher, page 1705. And let me send that.
Yeah.
I'll paste that here. Yeah.
Yeah. Mayor
That's
Prasad,
beautiful.
did you hear that? That quote? Beautiful. I hadn't heard that. I mean, that's a help.
No,
Yeah,
I just heard it from Prakash. I didn't hear it before.
Yeah. Boy, that's like
so it's in the
wonderful.
chat box. Yeah.
Yeah.
For any of you.
You know what I was thinking of doing, but anybody have anything to say there? I was thinking of sharing a little bit about saying Baba's name, the value of what Baba has said about saying his name. But I'll wait a little bit for that. I mean, if if there's anything else you have on the stove there.
I have a quote because Prakash read about the inner voice. There is a quote about the inner plane, so I'll just read it. It's a short one.
Yeah.
The unity and solidarity of the inner planes make it possible for the master to use his disciple as an instrument for his work, even when the disciple is unaware of serving this larger purpose of the master.
Yeah. That reminds me, Darwin was describing how there were, I think, maybe about 3 men with Baba, and he said, here in the States, and he said, I need someone to go to Mexico. And eventually Baba turned to Sam Cohen and said, yeah, you go to Mexico. He said, well, what do you want me to do there, Baba? He said, it doesn't matter. Just go down. So he was obviously going to be part of a larger purpose, but without any awareness or any specific job to do. Just go down there. So he probably went down, got stayed in a hotel and walked around, maybe Mexico City, who knows?
Who was that again? Or where in Mexico?
Sam Cohen. But I
Okay.
don't know if it was, I just remember it as being Mexico, but it could very well have been Mexico City.
I just hadn't heard of anybody going to Mexico or Baba or anything like that before.
Yeah, he was just sent down. He was an old follower of Baba's from the 30s, actually. Very unassuming. You could have met him and not even known, you know.
Do you know of any Baba lovers in Mexico or from Mexico?
Yeah, there are a number of them. There's Rafael Villafane or Villafan, and Lourdes, and I don't know all of the. There are a few.
But there's like a
Jay, the artist.
What's that?
Jay.
Oh yeah, Jay Moeller is down there. You know, just more in recent years, he went down there.
my partner's from there, so I'm just curious as to if there's any groups or people that actually in Mexico or anything like that.
Yeah, Raphael was he's a musician, very good. He was a kind of a popular musician there, and you know, I guess somewhat famous. And then you see him on some of the Baba productions.
Okay.
Yeah. Villafane, I think. But if you call some night in the evening, I might be able to get his email address. If you call the gateway, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Okay.
Yeah. So anything else?
I just thought I'll quickly, I heard Meher Prasad's message regarding Baba working through people, even though they are not aware of it. And recently when I was in India, this thought occurred to me. And I've seen people who have met Baba, I mean, at least within the people I observed, they all had some, you know, sort of ailment or some discomfort that they go through constantly. And then suddenly one day, somehow it occurred to me that Baba is actually getting some work done through these people, even though they may not be aware of it. And I really wanted to go to one of the persons and tell him that, but then I said, well, I mean, how would I know? But it's just a thought that occurred when I was just, you know, thinking about it. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. No, that story I told about Baba's work with the women mandali last time, but yeah, I won't go into that. But one thing about, I remember back in the early, you know, late 60s, early 70s, reading Ramakrishna, and he was a perfect master in the second half of the 1800s, and one of the things that really stood out for me, he said during the Kali Yuga, which is what we're in, the only thing that would help was the repetition of God's name. And I thought at the time, this is, you know, that seemed a little bit out there, you know, I mean, quite a unusual thing, but this is what he said. And then as we get, you know, later and later with the Mandali, they were really encouraging us to say Baba's name inwardly. But I asked Darwin, you know, if he took Baba's name inwardly, and he didn't. I mean, he was centered in Baba, but he spoke about Baba, used Baba's name a lot, but he didn't have the practice like a lot of the Mandali did. But when Mani was a little girl, she would be, you know, around Baba's father. She was look up, and Baba's father was always saying, "Yes, done. Yes, done. Yes, done. Yes, done. Yes, done." And you could see his tongue, you know, saying that name, "Yes, done. Yes, done." You probably have heard that. So Baba kind of came up with in a tradition of saying God's name. His father did that. But Baba himself said on several occasions that he himself, you probably know, was taking his own name from the moment he began his mission. Baba was always taking his name. Any you had you? I think most of you know that. And yeah, and Baba said at one point, "My name is more powerful than I am." He has invested his name with so much power. I mean, of course, you probably remember the image that Baba gave of a metaphor that if you're harassed by thoughts, he said, "Let my name be as a net around you, a mosquito net, so that the mosquitoes will still continue to buzz, but they won't sting you." That's one aspect. But
Do you know if it's like Avatar Mara Baba, or just Baba, or does it matter?
it doesn't matter.
I
mean, what,
you know, I repeat it all the time, and I do, you know, I just have never heard that he Baba himself took his own name. That's
Yeah.
new to me.
yeah. And yeah, so as like one way that Eric said is like at the in breath or the out breath, ba, ba, that's one way of doing it. I do it also if I'm walking, something repetitious, ba, 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 walking, you know, or the gas tank, you know, ba, 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 ba. Anyway, here's an interesting thing though, just we're talking about what Prakash was saying, not being aware of a larger purpose that you're involved in. I know some of you have heard this before, but after Baba dropped his body, well, back in the early 70s when we were there in India, Sarosh was one of Baba's mandali. He was with Baba since he was 18. And he used to say that his whole practice was just saying Baba's name, and he would kind of gesture, ba, 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 ba. I mean, that was his in and behind everything. He was a businessman, but he was just saying Baba's name. So after Baba dropped his body, he came to New York, and this was probably 1970 or 71. I can't remember. I was there. And the moment he touched our shore, Darwin up in Schenectady, about 4 hours away, felt waves and waves of love that were emanating. He could feel it all. He and Jean could feel the waves emanating. And then he went from New York to Boston. And Jean and Darwin were coming over from Schenectady to Boston. As they got closer, those waves were more and more powerful, waves of love and everything. When they got to the place where Sarosh was staying, he was there with he had a little jigger of whiskey, and he was kind of boring, reading a brochure, kind of a little bit bored, you know, a little boring expression. He had no awareness of what was going out from him in all directions. Totally effaced. I mean, Darwin said it was clear that he had no idea the love that was emanating out from him in all directions. Totally effaced from that, because he was just pursuing his long time practice of saying Baba's name.
Jeff, when we repeat Baba's name, when we remember his form and we visualize his form, so is that important, or it's just the word that is important?
Well, the more you can get in there, the better. I mean, as long as it doesn't get spread too thin. Visualizing Baba and doing his name, to me, are two of the highest things you can do. You know, and Baba in the latter years he'd be in Mandalay Hall, and he would ask the men, are you saying my name? You know, they would be in Mandalay Hall inwardly saying Baba's name. This was at the latter part of their lives. And Mehrnaz N describes a scene where they were coming I think they were driving out to Mehrabad, and whoever was driving, I don't think it was Erich, they had to make a sharp turn to avoid hitting something in the road. I think it was some animal in the road. And it was a kind of a near miss. And Baba said, no one took my name. And the person that was driving said, well, Baba, I had to, I was concentrated so we didn't hit anybody. And someone else said, well, Baba, I had to hold back all of this paraphernalia that we were bringing so that it wouldn't spill all over the place. So he didn't take his name. Then Erich's uncle, who was sitting right next to Baba, said, well, why should I call you? You're right there. And there was, but I think there were 4 of them. None of them took Baba's name. And Baba said, you have to take my name when there's some kind of a danger there. And I think a lot of us have that habit, if you drop something, oh, Baba, or any kind of accident. Someone was got a car accident, and they yelled out Baba's name, and their car was totaled, but they stepped out and they weren't injured at all. And then they went over to the other car to find out how the other driver was doing. The driver's radio was on, blasting away, and the radio was playing Begin to Begin. It just like, so, but,
Jeff,
yeah.
I wonder if I can narrate my story. The same car accident happened, similar car accident that was serious that happened to us a couple of months ago. Last October, actually. And in that, I was listening to Bill Cliff and a couple of others playing, playing Baba songs, actually singing Baba songs. And then we had this accident, and it was pretty serious. And then, I didn't get the thought of remembering Baba. This is obviously I was thinking about later, but then I found out that Baba actually helps you to take his name. How it happened. My son Harsha, and suddenly he woke up, and the first few words he said are Baba, Baba, Baba. Wow, then I said, Baba is also helping me here to remember him. And we did that. The moment we did, like you just said, the car literally stopped. It's really total. It stopped right in a very safe place. And we all just walked out. We're all in shock and everything. But that's the power of his name, which I can recall within my experience. It's beautiful.
Yeah, there's so many people that have been saved in very, dangerous situations with Baba's name. Mayor Prasad, you got anything about Baba's name that, or any quotes?
The quote from Listen Humanity about Baba taking his own name, I can read
Good.
that.
Yeah, I was trying to find that.
It's from Listen Humanity, page 43 to 45. Let's see, where should I start? It's a pretty long quote, but I don't want to read the whole thing. Let's see. I'll read parts of it.
Yeah.
Okay. You can also entrust your mind to me by remembering me or repeating my name in your heart as often as you can. Remember me so often that your mind is at a loss to find other thoughts to feed on. It's hailing here, so you might hear background noise.
Wow.
Yeah.
Maybe you better start taking Baba's name.
And it continues. Although I am taking my own name continuously, I have come to hear it repeated by my lovers. And even though I were deaf, I would hear it if you repeated it only once once with all your heart in it. If you cannot remember me constantly, then always repeat, think of my name before going to sleep and on waking up.
Yeah, beautiful. There's, I've got to see if I can find it. Here's a Hafiz quote. The beloved's name is a mystical weave and pattern, a hidden sieve we need to pass through thousands of times a day. From my constant remembrance of the prophet, all that I now say is safe to drink. Oh, excuse me. Water is poured through a cloth to collect impurities. The beloved's name is a mystical weave and pattern, a hidden sieve we need to pass through thousands of times a day. From my constant remembrance of the friend, all that I now say is safe to drink. And there's a buddy of mine that was just here. He was just here in town. And Mehrnaz Jesawalda, this is the last thing that Mehrnaz said to him before he left. He said, remember, when you go on taking his name throughout the day, your mind and ego will try to convince you that this is too easy a way to follow Baba, because they know that you have in your hands the weapon to destroy both of them. This was Mehrnaz.
So your friend Daniel Kadinsky?
Yeah, Ladinsky, yeah.
So there, the poem I almost read tonight at Arti is, I think, a riff on what you just read. Can I read it?
Yeah, go ahead.
It's called Something I Have Learned. Water gets poured through a cloth to become free of impurities. The beloved's name is a mystical weave and pattern, a hidden sieve of that was not even the hard word. A hidden sieve of effulgence we need to pass through thousands of times. From my constant remembrance of the friend, all I now say is safe to drink, something that I have learned from the kind, radiant one who drew me from the unfathomable sky's well, makes me playful all day long.
Beautiful. Yeah.
I ruined it.
And Jeff, can I say something quickly here?
Oh, yeah, take your time. We'll give you an hour and a half.
Few minutes here. So I can't remember this story, but it goes something like this, and maybe you can help me when it happened or where it was. Baba and Mandali's woman Mandali were in Blue Bus, and there was on this trip where they had to pass a bridge, and the bridge started kind of feeling will be collapsed, something like that, and it was so scary. And at that point, Baba asked women Mandalis to take their malas out of their purse, and the mala is what is the other name for mala? Hopefully
Beads?
That's
No.
right, yeah.
Yeah.
Which I know especially Mera had it. Mera had it, and it has 101 beads in it, indication of repeating 101 name of gods. So at that time, when they were facing this very scary, fearful moment, what's going to happen to them, whether this bus going to pass the bridge or not, Baba asked them to take this mala and repeat the name of gods, 101 name of gods. So by repeating, so this is exactly when it happened, I just gotta go and find it really, which book I read. But it goes back to what you were just saying, that Baba not only asking them to repeat his name, but also often asking them to repeat 101 name of God by using this mala. And I thought, and in my family, I remember my dad had mala around his neck and would take it out, and when he was in meditation, or even not exactly at meditation, during even time when he was sitting there and talking to other people, he was you know counting this beads, not counting as 1, 2, 3, but
Yeah.
repeating God's name. And my mom had the same thing. She had her own malas, and she would repeat God's name often during daytime and whatever. So I just wanted to bring that.
Yeah. Well, was your father, was he saying Baba's name or the 101 names of God?
It
Is
was
he?
quiet, so I don't know what he was
Yeah.
repeating, whether it was Baba's name or
Yeah.
101 name of God.
I remember, I think it was Erich told us there was a saint whose practice was to say the name of God. And when he was buried, after he died, the name of God that he was taking was continued to emanate from the grave. So it can outlive, even the name can outlive the body, I guess. Hey, Alan just woke up,
How's it going?
Okay.
Yeah, good to see everybody.
Yeah. Yeah, Jay Baba, we're talking about taking Baba's name, a lot of the things that Baba has said about that. Yeah. Well, let's see. We've got Dinku. I don't know if what she's up to.
Hi, Jeff. No, I'm here.
Uh-huh. Well, I mean, do you folks, I'm curious, do you folks wind up, I mean, some people did feel drawn to taking Baba's name inwardly, and other people, it's not in their nature so much. But how are you folks? Do you kind of work Baba's name in here and there, or what is your?
Pretty much every now and then. And of course, I say Baba's little prayer when I go to bed and when I wake up in the morning. And then after that, I keep repeating Baba's name, and it puts me to sleep.
Yeah. Yeah, like counting sheep, but I go, I kind of go under with Baba's name, and I come up out of sleep with Baba's name.
Well, it's funny. Sometimes I come out of sleep with the name, and sometimes it's one of the songs, that I hear at the arti, or when you sing. Like yesterday, I woke up and it was Footsteps. That song was just playing in my mind.
That one, haven't you heard the silence? See, haven't you heard? Let's see.
Haven't
There's
you heard
one.
His silent steps, he comes.
Yeah, haven't you heard his silent steps? He comes, ever comes. That one?
No,
You know that in
Footsteps walking with me.
Shyam Sunder sings Footsteps Walking with Me.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So that's the one.
Get him to sing that.
Yeah. And I mean, I just woke up and that song was playing in my mind as I became conscious and aware of my surroundings.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I know, isn't that great? Sometimes a song will go around in me for a couple of days. It's just
exactly.
but in a nice way,
That's right.
What about you, Jasima?
Yeah, I mean, at least in the morning, while as soon as I wake up, I take Baba's name
Yeah,
at least 7 times, and then like after bath, I do prayer. So at least 4 to 5 times in a day, I try to remember.
yeah. When you're waiting in line at the grocery store,
I don't do that.
or walking walking around, it's kind of I mean, it becomes not anything that you have to work at. It's something that's kind of a joy to do it.
Yeah.
Hey, Jeff,
Yeah.
did you ever meet or talk with Andy Muir?
Yeah.
You did. Yeah. I just listened to I just listened to one of his talks. I think it was from the 80s, mid 80s or something, and it was just really, really powerful. He read off like a little poem he wrote or something about his wife, and it was just so intensely. He just had so much love for his wife, and there was something in the way that he was speaking about her because she had passed on.
Yeah.
And the line was that he was like in tears. You know, his voice was shaking, and the audience was really silent. And then he was just like, and she ran off with my best friend, and then everybody started laughing. And it was because you know, best friend meaning Baba, like
Yeah.
she's still here with him, and it was just such a beautiful. Do you have any stories about him or anything that you could share?
I mean, he really did go through a long period of grief over Peggy, his wife. They were really inseparable. Very dear couple. Oh, I wish I could. I'm trying, you know, it's funny, I haven't thought of him in a while. He told me this joke. He had some good jokes. I'll tell you one of the jokes. There's this CEO of a corporation, and he's terrified of flying, but he has to. He has to go to a meeting in out in California, and there's no way he can get out of having to do it, and so he you know, he's just terrified, and he's got a real phobia of flying it. But so the plane goes, it comes down in Dallas, Texas, and he immediately gets off and gets down on firm ground for a while the the plane is in transit. And then he gets in, and he's got a seat by the window, and he's sitting there, and then this huge big Texan guy comes in with a big hat, and he's got one of those bolero ties and an embroidered shirt, and sits down, but it takes more than his seat. So he's kind of crammed in there, and the plane takes off, and he's just feeling really, terrible, paranoid and everything. And at one point he starts to get nausea, and it gets worse and worse. And this guy next to him falls asleep, and he's snoring. And so he doesn't want to wake up this guy because there's a kind of a meanness about him. So he's climbing over this guy's chair without having him have to get up. And as he does, he throws up all over his embroidered shirt, but the guy doesn't wake up. And so he goes back to the bathroom, and then he comes back, climbs over, and he's praying there to God. God, please, you got to help me. Give me something, anything to say, And he's praying. And finally, God says, speak. So what he does is he wakes the guy up and says, "Are you feeling a little bit better, sir?" I remember.
Funny.
Jeff, you may repeat again, repeat this joke.
Uh-oh. You want me to do it all over again? Okay, so there's this CEO of a big corporation, and he's terrified of flying in planes. And in fact, for years, he's been able to avoid having to go anywhere by plane. But here he has to sign a contract in California. So he is stuck. He has to go. And he flies from New York to Dallas. He gets off of Dallas, walks around, kind of gets on the terra firma, you know, gets his bearings and everything. Then he gets in the plane, and he gets, and his seat is right next to the window. And he's there kind of very anxious, and this huge Texan, you know, big burly guy with a kind of a cowboy hat, an embroidered shirt, fancy looking shirt with one of these little bolero ties. And he slumps down in the chair, and he's kind of a huge guy. So he's really taking over his seat a little bit, and he's wedged in by the window, kind of frightened and everything. And the plane takes off. And this guy proceeds to go to sleep, and he's kind of snoring away. But as the plane gets up, there's a little bit of turbulence. He starts getting sicker and sicker, and eventually he has to vomit. So he doesn't want to wake this guy up because he's kind of a surly guy. So he kind of climbs over the chair. And as he's climbing over this guy's chair, he throws up right on the guy's embroidered shirt, all over that. And he goes off the bathroom, and he comes back, and he comes back to his seat. The guy still hasn't awakened, and he's praying to God, please, please tell me, what can I do? What can I do? And God says, just speak. And, you know, say the first thing. So he gets this inspiration. He wakes the guy up and says, sir, are you feeling a little bit better now? You got that, Sham? Did that make sense?
Yes, now.
What it
Yes,
is
now I understand it.
Yeah, he's kind of implying that the guy is thrown up in his sleep on his own shirt. And that way he avoided getting crushed against the window by this Texan. Anyway, I remember. But I'm trying to think of Alan, can you remember anything from his story that he told? I mean, I could have even very well been there.
What was that?
You remember anything that he shared from that talk that he gave?
Yeah, I mean, he said a lot of things. He's like a sailor, or was he a sailor or something? He was in some sort of military, and so he was cracking a lot of jokes. But one of the things that I remember is that he was walking with Baba at the center, and I think it was a small group of them walking together, and Baba was at the front, and he was moving really fast, and they were all trying to keep up, and Andy was back in the back with this woman, and he saw what happened. She suddenly got a little twig in her shoe, so she stopped to, you know, pull the twig out of her shoe. The moment that she made a little, she just stopped. The moment she stopped, Baba stopped. And he turned around and he looked at her, and she looked at him, and she proceeded to take the twig out. And he nodded at her, and then they continued walking.
Wow.
But there was something about Andy when he described that, that he just said that was one of the most, you know, out of all of the things, it wasn't like all the stories of his divinity. It was just the fact that she was uncomfortable. It suddenly dawned. It just suddenly made him aware that Baba knows everything about us, even if your little discomforts. He's even aware of that.
Yeah, beautiful. In fact, Baba would be going so fast that if she had stopped, she would have been way behind, because Baba was. Here's one thing that I remember now that Andy Muir, Baba went down to Brook Green Gardens, which is a kind of a sculpture garden, landscaped and everything, south of Myrtle Beach, where Baba went. And they got down there. You've probably seen the movies. And there's a beautiful. I'll tell you, if you want to see some of the most beautiful movies of Baba, 1956. You type in Meher Baba Films, video, Vimeo, YouTube, and you can get Baba's trip in 1956, some of the best footage of all, from New York to Myrtle Beach to Washington, D.C. to California. This 1956, beautiful. But anyway, Andy Muir had a camera, and he got ahead of Baba, and he was there when Baba got out of the car to walk around Brook Green Gardens. And Baba came over to the camera, and he just kind of went like that. And Andy proceeded to film all these intimate shots, climbing over walls and trying to anticipate where Baba went. And the whole time he shot all of this. And so when he got back home to DC, he took his camera out, the movie, to show everybody all this great footage that he got. And it starts out and Baba's getting out of the car, and Baba kind of goes over like that to the camera. And after that, nothing further. All of that effort that he made was for naught. But you can actually see, we saw where Baba's hand comes up like that, and that was it.
Yeah, there was a short story that he was standing near Baba, and a woman came running up to him, and she was really distraught. And she basically was like trying to push away the mandali, and they were like trying to hold her back. And she was like, please, just please let me see him. And Baba said, let her come. And she said, Baba, she was just in tears. And she was like, how can I love you when I can't even love my own daughter? And she just really, everybody was like, whoa, how can I love you if I don't love my own daughter? And Baba was silent, and he was just looking at her, and they were all in that moment together. And he said, your tears are your proof of your love. And that was it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah. It was just beautiful.
Yeah. Wow, that's so simple. So simple and true. Yeah. Well, Jay is kind of leaning back on his chaise lounge in Seattle. I don't know if we can get him into action.
Hey, Jeff, we're eating dinner. Sorry.
Okay. Say hello to Cameron for me and Mara.
Okay. Jeff says hi.
Yeah. Well, let's see. Nasreen is there, I'm sure.
Yes, Jeff, I'm still here.
Good. Good. Let's see.
You.
I'm going to look for something that Merwan said about taking Baba's name.
Can I ask a question while?
Yeah, good.
So we were talking about effacement today.
Yeah.
In Effort and Grace, and then you mentioned it again tonight. And I didn't know what it meant, so I Googled it. And it's kind of like making yourself invisible, right?
So you just Baba.
So in terms of letting go of your effacement with Baba, is it? Okay, Terry's answering it for me.
Yeah, our curse as human beings is we're always making a self-reference. You know, if you're meeting somebody, we're often thinking, we're not just over into them. We're thinking, I wonder what they think of me. That self-reference there. When that self-reference goes, then you're over into the other person completely, or you're over into Baba completely. But that doesn't just happen overnight. It's a gradual process where you become more interested in others for their own sake than you are in your relationship to that other person. I don't know if that makes sense. You understand, you get to know them as they experience themselves rather than getting to know them through the filter of yourself. Is that kind of clear?
Kind of like how you see them, how they want to be seen?
Or how they see themselves. For example, I mean, way back, this is in the 70s, you know, every time I'd go in to see Kitty, inside about 45 seconds, we'd be over talking about me and my problems. You know, and I thought, how is it? Oh, I go in here and, you know, we're before you know it, we're talking about me. So I determined I'm going to find out how Kitty's doing. So I would go in there and I would see, Kitty, how you doing? What's going on and everything. And before you know, or try to get a Baba story out of her, but the story would have some relevance to me. So we're over into me again. And so after a number of attempts, I realized that her current of interest in me was more powerful than my current of interest in her. So I would be trying to swim upstream against this interest in me, which was greater than my interest in her. She was able to look away from herself into me. And if you ask her how she's doing, she'd say, fine, I'm good. You know, you couldn't, not that she was trying to be private. She was fine, and you're the weakest link. So the attention goes to the weakest link. I don't know if that makes sense, but I mean, that's the way the Mandali were. They got into, when I first met the Mandali, they were responding to me as I had always known myself to be, and they were just meeting me for the first time. So they were able to tune into who you were without being so concerned about how you felt about them. That's kind of a self-effacement. I mean, that's one example of self-effacement. That doesn't mean you don't talk about yourself, but you don't have to talk about yourself. You know, everything is fine. Kathy, does that make any sense?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I just, the thought that was coming to my mind when you were talking about that, and I don't know if really some of one of the persons in addition to Baba that talks about the false self, which I think is Thomas Merton.
Yeah.
And I've read about the false selves for Baba, but I can't quite, you know, I'm not real good at remembering the different quotes or sources, but it was like, so you're talking about self-effacement, and so what I think of is, you know, the false self versus the true self. And so, you know, you basically, in addition to yourself, but then in other people. So, which, you know, equates to me as the same as the false self as the ego. And so one of the expressions I'm sure you've heard before is, you know, through the Christian church is something like, you know, you you love the sinner, but you hate the sin kind of attitude. And so similar to that it's just seeing the false self for what it is, both in myself and in other people, and not feeding that ego in anyone, including myself. But then I'm very aware. I have a very big ego, very aware of it. And my mind is very strong, and it'll just go on and on and on. But I guess the awareness of it is the first step in being able to, I don't know, control it, or just see it for what it is. And hopefully it'll start to diminish after that.
Yeah, and sometimes the ego is helpful for Baba's work. I mean, for example, Bob Brown was one of the caretakers at the center. Do you remember Bob Brown? And wrote so many beautiful songs.
Both Bob and Jane Brown. I don't think I ever met Bob, but I knew Jane.
Yeah. Anyway, Bob, in spite of being a great musician and a caretaker at the center and all this kind of stuff, he was emotionally needy. and I used to kind of marvel, like, how could it be so needy? But his neediness means that when guests would come to the center, he would go over and say, I'm having a problem with this. What do you think? What should I do? And he'd go around and he'd be talking about this album. I don't know whether I should do this song or that song. And, but what it did is his neediness connected him with so many people over the years, personally, with so many people. So sometimes our ego can play right into what Baba wants, because there are other caretakers who were very kind of self-sufficient, but they didn't connect with the guests. You know what I mean? They didn't have any neediness, but also they didn't get a chance to meet the guests. So sometimes the weakness is not as bad a weakness as we might think.
Adike Irani gave a wonderful visual of what effacement is.
Of what?
Of effacement, or how Baba works on his lovers. He said that imagine a superstructure or a tall building, and some of you may know this already. Jeff, I'm sure you know this. Imagine a tall building that is there, and it's a very tall building, and there are two ways you can demolish the building. The first way is you basically start from the top and cut off one floor after another, and slowly you get down to the bottom and then remove the foundation, and you can do it that way. The second way is you go inside the foundation, to the very bottom of the foundation, and remove all the foundational elements of the building, and all it takes is just a touch, and then the building just falls over. So that he said that Baba works the second way. The first way is when you cut off the floor after floor, you'll see people, there is a change in the people behavior. They might look very spiritual, very virtuous. They might be considered as good people and all that. So it will all show on the surface, but there is a very, it can be dangerous, because you'll attract people, you'll attract masses that will come to you, and you'll be more popular and things like that. There is a danger of going down that path and getting distracted with that. The second way which Baba does is he goes inside you and he basically removes all your so-called ego and everything else. And out from the outside, the building doesn't change at all. It looks as if it was there. It was just like it was before. So all your behavior, all of that may for people seeing you, they don't see any change in you at all. But there is something going on inside that nobody else notices. And it only takes 1 second, one moment for Baba to come and just completely, take away that, demolish your ego. And then
Yeah.
you're,
I heard another one. This might have been from Erwin Luck told me that this was from Baba, but but similar kind of metaphor. But Baba says that like you've got a tree and you want to, there are two ways of taking down the tree. One is you kind of go to the topmost branches and you cut it, and then you come down 10 feet and then another 10 feet until you come down to the base. That's like going through the planes of consciousness. And then, but Baba's way is that you have the tree there, and then you introduce termites. And the termites go and eat out the whole tree. So to all intents and purposes, it looks like a thriving tree, but it's all hollowed out. And all you have to do is come over and you can just kick it over and the whole thing will topple. So that's Baba's method, is hollowing us out so that to all intents and purposes, you look like a thriving tree. You look like a thriving human being. And yet it, takes very little. You get to be paper thin after a while. You don't weigh 150 pounds. Now you only weigh about 2 ounces, but you look like you weigh 150 pounds. But a similar type of thing. But that the hollowing out. We were talking about Baba's name. Even Mehrnaz just well to say Baba's name, said from the heart. Eventually, it gets to be like termites, and it just eats out everything inside of it, so that your heart is hollowed out, so Baba can live in you. And so that's kind of what we're doing. We may not look like we're any progress. I mean, even to ourselves, it may not seem like we're making any progress, but we are getting hollowed out by Baba.
Hey, Jeff.
Yeah.
You know how Darwin talks about like what was the thing, or somebody you mentioned said that we think of ourselves as being really small.
Yeah.
What's the relationship between that, because when you said it and every time you mention it, it's like I have this sense that there's an expansiveness in my I don't know what it is. It's just, it feels like there's an expansiveness that I've experienced with Baba, where it's not like I'm looking through the lens of Alan, who has his grumpiness and his things he likes and his things he doesn't like. And that's what I get the sense of, like when you mentioned Darwin and that spaciousness, we think of ourselves as really small. Like, this is just who I am. This is the work I do. I talk to people like this. I like this. I don't like it when you talk to me like that. What is that compared with the effacement? Do you get more effacement? Is there effacement and then there's the more spaciousness, or like, do you know what I'm saying? It's like, what's the relationship between effacement and this thinking of ourselves or experiencing ourselves bigger than we actually are?
Yeah, I think the effacement leads to a being kind of hollowed out, and you become, you might say, vast, but then you're hollowed out. When you're hollowed out, you actually experience yourself as being larger than when you're cramped in and you're emotionally narrowed down, you're physically narrowed down, mentally narrowed down. This, if you can break that congestion up, that confinement up, break it open, you experience yourself as being larger, but that largeness at the same time, you feel you're nobody. It's an odd sort of a thing, as you, just like someone who has great love, after a while they feel like it's not even them who's doing the loving. It's Baba who's doing the loving. It's not you who is large, it's Baba who in you is is creating a larger you. So you don't take, you don't identify it as being you, it's Baba kind of eclipsing who you are.
Yeah, when you're mentioning the saying Baba's name versus people who don't say it, or whatever, just do people say Baba's name? And I found that I find that I don't really say his name. It's more of like when there's that awareness that he is, like, I make so much, I think I'm fighting against the current, and something I'm learning a lot in this life, which is that I keep thinking that I am making the decisions and that I am going to figure it out. And you know, just give me a little bit of time, Baba. Like I will figure out how to, you know, navigate this ship. And it doesn't happen. And again, there's always those periods, those moments where he kind of opens it up, the vista up, and I'm like, this is all you. And then there's like the surrender and this, you know, there's no more struggle. And I think I really struggle with the struggle. And like you said, I'm angry with the anger. What I forgot that line that you said, like,
yeah,
frustrated with your frustrations or something.
Don't react to your reactions.
Yeah. That's a tough one.
Stay calm, whatever your reactions happen to be. But you know, the thing about, you know, navigating your ship, that's because you think you're going somewhere. If you gave up going somewhere because you aren't going anywhere, we aren't going anywhere, we're kind of stalled.
I mean, it really feels like we're going somewhere, because like I'm aging and my knees hurt when it's cold now. And it feels like I'm going, you know, I get in the car and you know, all this feels very, I mean, I can feel this, you know, but it's hard to really experience that unless there's that grace.
But see, the thing is it's the imagination that makes it seem like you're going from here to there. Yeah. But you have never left this moment. The moment you're in right now, you have never gotten out of.
Oh man.
You could, you know, it's if you kind of identify with the clock, then you're wasting time. But when you were in third grade, you were in this very same moment.
Wow.
You haven't been able to get out of it. But but to the imagination, it seems like you're going somewhere and time is going by.
Yeah, and people are their physical forms are leaving and coming.
Yeah.
It's hard. The grief and the real nitty gritty of it is hard to. Yeah.
I mean, it's like the imagination, if it gets the hold of us, you know, we'll say, hey, I want to go over there. I'm not happy here. I want to go over there. And so now I've got space. Space is created.
Yeah.
You know, then I have to traverse this, you know, to get to that place where I'm going to be happy. If I could accept however I feel in this moment completely, I wouldn't want to go anywhere.
Yeah.
But all these things are, they have to be experienced, and very gradually.
Distractions are very, very strong. The distraction, the force of distraction, of leaving the now is very, very, very strong. I don't know how, unless I effort or something, unless I really it's hard.
Get some space between you and your imagination that wants to go over there. I remember the first time I went on the center, this buddy of mine and I, and we felt such a power of the center. And we decided after we signed in, let's just walk in. We parked our car and we would walk about like 100 feet. We'd walk down the main road there. We look at each other and say, we're not going anywhere. Then we start again. We'd walk another 100 feet. Wow, we're not going anywhere. We're laughing. This is like, and I realized years later that we were in our soul. Our bodies were moving in time and space, but one part of us was not going anywhere. That's where we have to eventually get to, where we're really not going anywhere. Because we really aren't going anywhere, but I mean, I got the experience kind of just coming on the center for the first time. It took us forever to get into the center because it was like we were on a treadmill. Even though scenes were going by and trees and the road and everything, one part of us was stopped.
Mhm.
But that's a fundamental experience that we can have now. It's not like, or a growing awareness of that fact.
Well, I wonder what it is that makes me, for instance, I can only speak for myself because I'm in this body, but like what makes me not want, I mean, there's some resistance and there's some attraction to distraction. So it's like,
Yeah.
what makes me not want to stay in the moment is, I guess maybe the fear, the overwhelming idea or imagination that if I am present, I just have way too much homework to catch up with, you know, like there's too many emotions, there's too many things that I'm not dealing with, or too much grief, too much pain, and I don't want it, and maybe it's over there, you know. But
Yeah.
that's for me, it keeps me running, keeps me
Yeah.
going.
Yeah, and if you don't do anything, you're going to just be a failure in life.
Sure.
So you better kind of keep going. It's very, I don't know. It's, I don't know.
I hear what you're saying. It's just, it really though, you know, like facing grief and stuff, and facing the things that are very uncomfortable. It's like you mentioned that one time, sitting with Baba in the present of all your feelings, and you have to go through it. You have to feel it in order to beat it. Or what was that saying that Darwin said? You know, you really have to sit and know what it is that you are going through in order to give it to Baba.
Yeah, you take like a core emotion like fear.
Yeah.
Fear gets hooked up with imagination. Wow, you better protect yourself. That means you've got to go out to the store and get yourself locks for your house. You got to do this and that, and it's all being fed by an emotion. If when that emotion is given to Baba, then you don't have to do all that stuff. You still might get your locks, but there isn't the same urgency. It's kind of it is funny.
I'm laughing because it's very intuitive of you. Yeah, that's what I'm dealing with here.
In fact, there's somebody that's taking your microwave right now. I can see. No.
Well, I've had a funny day, and I didn't know if I was going to share it or not because it was pretty intense.
Yeah.
It's Passover, and I grew up in a family like we weren't very religious, but I had some very Orthodox relatives, and so we had, when I was little, I remember all these Passover seders that went on for hours. And then I haven't been, every year we just meet with my family, but it's watered down. In the last 2 years, we haven't done it. And then since I've been a Baba person, I'm not into ritual anyway. But today I got up and said, boy, it would sure be nice to see what was going on in the temple. So I put on my YouTube, and up comes this very Orthodox temple service describing Passover. And then yesterday, they were talking about the song Dayanu, and all of a sudden there was this funny YouTube thing. So I'm all feeling kind of, spiritual and religious. So I started to go out for a walk with my dog. And every time we go out, there's a loop that I never go around because it's an extra mile. And my dog keeps wanting to go that way. So today I said, okay, we're going to go that way. Well, I wasn't familiar with the path, and it was really windy, like in a Ben-Hur movie, right? And I'm walking and walking, and the dog is like walking along, and she wants to stop every 2 feet. So finally, I got to where I didn't know where I was going because there was no trail or anything. So I said, okay, Baba, like, what's going on here? So I end up on a hill, and the dog is laying down and rolling around in the ground, and I can't get her to get up, right? And I don't have my cell phone, and I'm thinking, wow, I feel like I'm in the desert with the Jewish people, like
Yeah.
whole religious thing. And I'm laying on the, finally, I just got tired of watching her roll around, and I sat down and laying on the ground, and I'm thinking, all right, just let all the thoughts pass through, And then I got up and kind of dragged her along, and I saw some people. I said, is this heading back towards the boat launch? And they said, oh, yeah, yeah. And then I found a building, and I was down by this water, and I had to go all the way around, and I'm thinking I'm never going to get home because she kept laying down. It was like really weird. And then finally I get almost home with her, and I'm on the path, and I'm all happy. And she's on my street, and she lays down in the street, and she won't get up. And then I'm thinking about, all the stuff with Passover and people sacrificing lambs. And I said, oh, Baba, are you taking my dog now? I wasn't sure she was breathing. So I said the prayers for her, and I started to think I'm going to lose my dog. And then I just said, okay, I'm just going to wait here for a while. I sure could use some help. So a lady drives by, and the dog jumps up. I guess she likes cars and stuff. And I get her home. But it was like, I was saying, I realized I had to be not attached to her, and I had to be able to say goodbye to her in case she was, it was kind of just this whole weird thing. So I came back in the house, I was like numb, really. So I took a nap and took a bath and was going to share before, and I said, this is just very strange. But I felt like, yeah, Bob is there all the time, and it's just like he throws these things at you that make you look at yourself. And I realized that the biggest thing was that, number one, I was afraid of not being safe, and of what do I do to get my dog home because she weighs 50 pounds. And just the fear of whatever was in my life, like lots of buried fear, popped out that I thought I had really so much gotten rid of. But actually, I feel a lot better now. But I'm looking at myself on the screen here, and everybody is sharp, and my face is blurry. And I'm thinking, am I getting crazy, or do I look blurry to everybody, or is it just me? It's like, whoa. So I just
Sometimes your little camera might need to be wiped
Yeah.
wiped a little bit.
Gotta
But
clean it
all
off.
of you are clear. But anyway, I had a strange day, but it was like, I felt like shocked, but I feel better now. But I'm thinking all these things that God puts us through are to show us what we have to get rid of. And then he really jolts it up and shakes it like a milkshake, and and then it feels better. It's kind of like
Yeah.
whoa, it was really
Yeah.
weird.
No, I do feel like all of our emotions are inside and they get projected outside, and then we are a character in our own emotional makeup,
Yeah.
and we kind of go through jealousy, and it's enacted out there, but it's really inside. It kind of gets projected into like a drama, and we are in our own drama until we kind of get to a point where it doesn't have to be demonstrated outside as a drama anymore. We
Yeah.
can remain on the inside, give it to Baba, and it doesn't have to play itself outside.
Well, that's what happened, but then I don't know. I wasn't going to share it, and I said, well, maybe I was thinking about it, and I said, well, just go for it. But when I said the prayers and I said goodbye to my dog, I mean, I was really happy that she didn't die, but so I'll take her to the vet and see why she's laying down when I walk her. But, I didn't like freak out. It was kind of like whenever something happened, Baba would show it, like somebody drive up, or just,
Yeah.
so it's kind of like, not a bad thing, but just
Yeah.
shocking. It's like,
Yeah, no, I think these are all really helpful to kind of get to know ourself and and work through things so we can draw closer to Baba. All these things, I think Baba these things all kind of unfold, and I do think they do bring us closer to Baba, even though they seem to distract us. You know, just like I say, that little scene with your dog and everything, there's something you came to, something you discovered about yourself, that you could let go of your dog, you know, or Baba would be there when you have to let go of your dog.
And I thought the best thing would be to say prayers for her, you know, to go to
Yeah.
Baba. Yeah. I was so
Hey,
happy
well,
to hear. Yeah.
anyway, I think, let's see. I'm just wondering if there's,
I wanted to share something, Jeff,
yeah,
about because I found being around Mara was my closest thing to repeating Baba's name. I just
Yeah.
felt she was a walking repeating job. With Mara's intense thirst for the remembrance of the beloved, love is born, and one's only thought is of the beloved. This is called real japa, repetition of a divine name. Then even the impossible becomes possible. It is the glory of the name. That comes from Lord Mayher. I just find it inspiring.
yeah. Who?
I don't know who said it.
Yeah.
I have a page number,
Yeah.
6231.
Yeah. Beautiful. Hey, well, I think it's getting, Mayor Prasad, anything that occurs to you?
I have a poem Baba wrote to Harry Kenmore.
Yeah.
And Baba's poems were very humorous, so and they
Limericks.
were yeah. So I'll just read one or two poems.
Yeah.
Harry, you are very dear. That's why I kept you near. Now let this be clear. As long as you are here, remain happy and full of cheer. About my promise, do not fear. I will speak and you will hear, whether you are there or here.
Yeah.
Let me read one more.
Baba said he was one of his Bandali. I mean, the actual called him over to say that he was, and that he would be a perfect master in his next life.
Wait, who was that?
Dr. Harry Kenmore.
Harry Kenmore. Was he blind?
Yeah, he was blind chiropractor.
That's right. And his voice is really, I can hear his voice in my mind.
Yeah.
It's like booming.
Yeah, he was like a hurricane.
I have a funny one, a poem that Baba wrote to him. Harry was leaving India and Baba wrote him, leave your heart in Mehrabad and Marazad. Take your mind and body to New York. Inwardly eat only Baba, outwardly steaks and pork.
And he was a meat eater. He was. There's one that Baba wrote, I remember, it's the, to Harry, it's the law of love divine. You must wither, you must pine. You must suffer, but not whine. Speak no words, write no lines, if you long for Valentine.
Hey, Jeff, we read something very interesting in Listen Humanity the other day.
Uh-huh.
It's pretty short. Should I read
Yeah.
it?
Yeah,
Okay.
do it.
Okay. And keep in mind, like what Baba used to say when someone passed away, he would say, they've come to me.
Yeah.
And I think this has relevance. So it says, as discussed earlier, in the process of both sleep and death, the individual returns unconsciously and briefly to the beyond state of God. In it, the soul achieves refreshment before it returns first to the subconscious state of ordinary dreams or the intense subconscious state of heaven or hell, and then to the ordinary conscious state of wakefulness or reincarnate life. So it seemed like after we die, we go to the beyond state for a while, and I guess that's why Baba says they've come to me until they, and then I think you rest a while, and then you do the heaven and hell right before being born, I guess.
Yeah, but with Baba lovers, this is, I mean, I gathered, I think it was from Bao, but the Mandali too. And with Baba lovers, we don't have to deal with heaven and hell. You know why?
Why?
Because we have a little bit of heaven and hell as we go along, so that when we come down to the end of our life, they're balanced, and we go right to Baba, and we may get our next assignment, kind of, you know, born in Newark and or New Jersey somewhere, and we kind of
looks like a bypass.
Was that
more births till 650 years?
Yeah. But you can see, so that we are getting a little bit of heaven and hell, so that like there's a balance. And it's amazing how the Baba lovers toward the end of their life, they are actually quite at peace. A lot of things have been miraculously balanced out, so they just step over on the other side. It's not it's not like a 500-foot drop off. A lot of people think they're going to fall. This could be the end. And in fact, what I've observed with Baba people is we are spending a lot of time, a lot of our life and what we're doing, the love and our creativity and everything is coming from the non-physical into us. And so when you get to the when you get to the end of your life, you look over and that's all familiar territory, because we've been living from the non-physical all along. So there isn't that shock of dying and going into the non-physical. We have been, it's a familiar country. But those who aren't loving and don't, live from there, it's scary, because you come to the end of your life and, you can drop, it's like a drop off. But Baba,
So, Jeff,
yeah,
I'm wondering, what's coming to my mind and what I've always had a question about is, that when Baba teaches oneness and that we're all going to be with him, and then what I've read about the so-called new humanity, that we're all going to live in this sort of heaven on earth together. And then I'm like, well, are we going to go beyond the earth? Are we going to have the new humanity, or is the oneness part of the new humanity? Am I confused with that?
well, one thing Baba said is that this is a Kali Yuga, 75% selfishness, 25% selflessness. In a golden age, or was going to be 75% selflessness, 25% selfishness. It never gets to be 100%. So when we get over to more of that selflessness, we get over to the 75% selflessness, I think is going to be the new humanity. Okay. But it'll be here on Earth, and it'll be a lot better. This is the winter of the world. Where Baba said, I mean, you've all seen this, where Baba said, this much effort in the Kali Yuga, this winter, gives you this much progress. He put his arms way out. On a golden age, this much effort, I got my arms wide, only gives you this much progress. So this is a time where we can really grow if we, by remembering Baba and living according to him, we can make great strides into his being. But because there are a lot of distractions there, and And if we can kind of stay our course, we will we can benefit greatly. Yeah.
Yeah, I really love how Mani said it, that it's always moving forward, never going backward. Well, I
Yeah.
think that's what, I think she was quoting Baba, but yeah.
It kind of went like this. He made a kind of a never going back, never going back. He had a certain expression.
Wow. Yeah, well, so does that necessarily mean that the traumas and the fears or the whatever things that you're working on in this particular life as a Baba lover, that it probably depends on how you handled a certain scenario or you handled certain things, if that would come up in your next time or until it's finished.
Well, the beautiful thing is this I felt very heartened. All of the progress you make, say on the divine qualities, patience, generosity, empathy, and everything, humor, all the divine qualities, the degree to which you cultivate these things, acquire these things, they go on increasing. You wouldn't be very generous this lifetime and then be stingy next lifetime. The generosity carries over, the empathy carries over, the humor carries over. So what I mean is that these are assets. They go on increasing. So you pick up where you left off in your degree of love, your degree of empathy, your degree of courage. All of that goes on increasing. It's not like, oh wow, now you're like a coward in your next life, after. And so we're building a better future, so to speak.
Can you also be building the negative sanskars, like the red sanskars? If let's say you're a Baba lover, but you're also doing a lot of things that are wicked per se, if they want to use that word. Like, I wonder how that works out in terms of balancing, and maybe those are things you also need to work out in the next time.
Well, I think, I feel is as you're remembering Baba and focusing on him, saying his name, you're dissolving all your good and bad sanskars, and love is going on increasing. I mean, even if you had a bad drinking habit, in this lifetime, you're not necessarily gonna because of Baba and your focus on Baba, even during your drinking, so to speak, your next lifetime, I don't think you will have to deal with that.
Wow.
So even on your worst traits, they are going to be modified.
Wow.
Improved, yeah.
Wow. Well, that's very that's a hopeful.
Yeah. I mean, just by focusing on Baba, you are dissolving your good and bad and your spiritual sanskars. They're all getting dissolved right and left. You really, yeah. We probably don't need to worry, except when I see Michael Childs, I gotta worry. He comes out of nowhere. Hey, Michael, can you read a couple of poems and we'll call it a night, because we're kind of coming down to the end. Do you got a poem there or two? Uh-oh. Yeah. Oh, you're on mute. There, now I think you're getting it. No? Your face is a little bit blue. I don't know.
Yeah, we can't hear you, Michael. Your microphone
Yeah.
is either very low or muted.
Huh.
You might have to leave and come back.
Yeah, you might need to kind of start all over again with your life, Michael, from the beginning.
Now I think we can hear him. Say something, Mike.
No.
There we are.
We can.
Yeah.
Yay.
You can hear me?
Yeah. We
Oh,
got you
here
now.
it says mute.
Well, don't touch anything.
Okay. All right. So I was came back from the 69 Darshan, and I was at the center, and I was thinking that I didn't like the American arti because it said we see you with gross eyes. And I just knew that I didn't. And so there wasn't one piece of music that really represented what I felt. And what was interesting is that I was a trained composer. I'd studied with a composer for 3 years. And he was a very, very strict teacher. And I just learned so much. But I never, even though I'd stopped studying with him 6 years previously, I still hadn't written anything of my own, something that I could say, this came from me. But I still didn't know who I was. But that experience that I had or have actually, standing in front of God, which totally blew my mind. It was just.
In the 69 Darshan.
Yeah, it was just such an extraordinary experience. So I'm walking on the beach and this song comes to me. And I call it Take Me, a prayer for the new age. And the words come from when I bowed down at Baba's chair and put my head on his sandals. And that was the only thing I could think to say, or wanted to say, and it was take me. So the first verse and chorus goes, here I stand by the ocean's edge, worn and ravaged by the roaring wind, washed by the waves of relentless time. Lord, I have waited long for thee. I know thee to be infinite love, beyond the compass of any mind. And though my tongue uses finite words, be not deaf to this lover's prayer. Chorus, O God, in thy glory, fill the world with peace. Let men stand as brothers side by side and build a new humanity. And Lord, as I stumble on this rocky path of life, let thy light forever guide my way. May my every word and deed be worthy of thy love. And when my time has come, take me, take me. Second verse is, currents of fear swirl about my feet, loosening the hold that I have on thee. Clouds of worries cast shadows that cause thy darkness to be. Clouds of worries. And I'll think of it. I get a little nervous. I can't even remember my own song. You're right. Clouds of worries cast shadows that keep thy love from my sight. My brothers long to see thy face, lost in pain, they see only fear. Lift them up, Lord, with thy grace, and cause their darkness to be filled with light. Third verse. Melted in the furnace of the game of life, purity of thought is slowly formed. Torn by the opposites of worldly strife, our ignorance falls like a worn-out shell. And when this love, let's see, here so lame, I'm sorry. Melted in the game of life, purity of thought is slowly formed. Torn by the opposites of worldly strife, our ignorance falls like a worn-out shell. When this love shines like the sun, then you and I are not we but one. The last verse is, God, creator, omnipotent, I ask thee for nothing. Naked I stand before thy gaze, clothed in the mantle that was given me. O God, beloved beyond all love, beloved beyond all love. Sorry about that. Knower of my heart and mind, I would be one with thee. I would be one with thee. O God, in thy glory, fill the world with peace. Let men stand as brothers side by side and build a new humanity. And Lord, as I stumble on this rocky path of life, let thy light forever guide my way. May my every word and deed be worthy of thy love. And when my time has come, take me, take me, take me, take me.
Beautiful, beautifully written. Really.
I'll have to
Yeah.
get my voice in shape and play it for you guys.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, you just bring out get the old kazoo out and
I don't know why I can't get the light to look like. Yeah, that's better.
no, that's lovely. Great words and everything, boy. One more poem and then I think we should call it a night. Anybody
Okay.
else have anything around here?
Let's see. I had something, but Donna cleaned up. Well, let's see. There's another one I could fumble through, which I've already read to you guys.
Not like Kubla Khan, getting woken. No.
This one is Guzzle C. It's 7 o'clock, and twilight falls gently, gray upon the hills. The sky's hues dissolve into the hues of butterfly wings, while wispy clouds resonate with the sun's last cry as it disappears into the darkness, leaving me in darkness, sinking, enmeshed in the twilight of my mind, where light is but a memory, a fairy tale of homilies, platitudes, and lies, of pleasures lost and pain remembered, heartbreak and despair, of childhood's hopes and myths destroyed by cruelty and deceit. When my thoughts have spiraled into blackness and my heart feels like stone, I think of thee, fair lover, who teases me with bliss, who strips me of everything that I possess and laughs at my nakedness. The sun will dawn tomorrow. I will gaze upon your brilliance, and blinded will become the sun, unblemished by the night.
Yeah, beautiful.
Jeff?
Yes.
Yeah. I have a poem,
Yeah.
but it's written by a Brazilian modernist, and it's in my mail. I don't know if I can switch to that and then read it out. So I'm just going to try.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. It's written by Mario de Andrade. He's a poet, novelist, essayist, and musicologist, and one of the founders of Brazilian modernism. He writes, "My soul has a hat. I counted my years and realized that I have less time to live by than I have lived so far. I feel like a child who has won a pack of candies. At first, he ate them with pleasure, but when he realized that there was very little left, he began to taste them intensely. I have no time for endless meetings where the statutes, rules, procedures, and internal regulations are discussed, knowing that nothing will be done. I no longer have the patience to stand absurd people who, despite their chronological age, have not grown up. My time is too short. I want the essence. My spirit is in a hurry. I do not have much candy in the package anymore. I want to live next to humans, very realistic people who know how to laugh at their mistakes and who are not inflated by their own triumphs and who take responsibility for their actions. In this way, human dignity is defended and we live in truth and honesty. It is the essentials that make life useful. I want to surround myself with people who know how to touch the hearts of those whom hard strokes of life have learned to grow with sweet touches of the soul. Sorry. Yes, I'm in a hurry. I'm in a hurry to live with the intensity that only maturity can give. I do not intend to waste any of the remaining desserts. I am sure they will be exquisite, much more than those eaten so far. My goal is to reach the end satisfied and at peace with my loved ones and my conscience. We have two lives, and the second begins when you realize you only have one.
Beautiful. Wow.
Beautiful.
Lovely.
It's the new humanity.
Yeah. Lovely, Dinku.
What's
Yeah.
the poet's name?
I'm sorry?
What is the poet's name?
Mario de Andrade.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Hey, Jeff, pick a number between 1 and 150.
147.
147.
Yeah.
All right. All lovers are poets. Only some have voices and some do not. They are the life tree's sap thrusting beyond materialism's rot. They are flags of innocence above the marshes of corruption. They are white sails on the shark-infested waters of religion. Their purity protects them from the false, the outworn, and the shoddy. For they woo a divine beloved, though they imprison him in a body. Give us time, beloved. Give us time to rightly read and obey your sign. For you yourself have said that true vision is only in your gift of wine. Give us one drop to make a flame in the dark of our trouble. Give us one glass, and we will reduce the temple to rubble. If now we are intoxicated with some fair face, your word will sing us clean and prepare us for your grace. All lovers are poets, and poetry is the state of perfect trust. In the end, the green sap, the flags, and the sails turn into singing dust. And that's from
Who wrote that?
Francis Rabazon.
Oh, wow. Really? Wow. Boy, that was beautiful.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, let's have a few moments of silence before we go on to sleep. Jai Baba.
Hey, Baba.
Jai Baba, Jai
Well,
Baba.
Jai
good
Baba.
to see all of you. Oh, hey, BJ shows up finally.
Yeah. I was listening,
Dinesh is,
enjoying.
oh, that was you there, that ASUS.
Yeah. That was my phone. Bye.
Yeah, good. Any last little, any last little remarks?
Well, I like the fact that the divine qualities, what you described, and the humor. And I was feeling like my friends and whoever Baba lovers, them. I like this sense of humor, and I feel that in my children also, this sense of humor they should develop. And sometime what happens, one aspect of sense of humor is some people make enjoy on the cost of making fun of others. I'm not talking, I'm talking the general thing.
Yeah.
And that kind of sense of humor at the cost of fun making of others. And I feel Baba never lied. And even he punished when he was coming down early days, and when Naja and Sister Mani was there, and when one day Baba entered, one day Baba punished Naja, no, sorry, Sister Mani, because she was mimicking the arti of her aunt. And Baba says that never make the fun of someone when praying the God, and she was mimicking. So Baba just called her out on the veranda, and he put a pot on her sister Mani's head and made her stand. So she was standing there. When Naja came out, when she saw Mani in that funny situation, so she laughed and she made fun. So Baba caught him, and he made Naja also stand there. And she said, never make the fun of others. When you see others in a funny situation or a miserable situation, never make fun of them. So just the thought came to my mind. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, especially, I guess, if it would hurt their feelings.
Yeah.
Sometimes people get a good laugh by we drop something, and we drop our nice piece of birthday cake, and it falls kind of icing straight down in the dirt. You know, you have to kind of laugh. But if it hurts somebody, that's one thing. But yeah. Hey,
sorry.
Baba said not at the expense of someone else. Baba said.
Right.
Yeah.
Other solutions.
Yeah. Well, shall we go?
Yes. Yes,
Nasreen,
please go.
Yeah,
Let's go
Sham.
to bed.
Yeah, let's go.
Let's go. Jai
Hey,
Baba.
Mehrnaz, where do you? I think of you as living in California. You live in California, right? Okay. Because I got an email from a Mehrnaz who was from Connecticut. That's somebody else.
Yeah, Mehrnaz Kapoor is the one who is running this Zoom for Iranian.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
She's contacting you. Perhaps she wants to get you involved in some of the.
Yeah, one of the things. I thought it said Connecticut, and I thought I had you out in California.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
Mehrnaz, her last name is Kapoor.
Kapoor, yeah.
But we were
Okay.
both from Vancouver
Yeah.
originally. So
Yeah.
we spent a few years together.
Yeah. I knew the Kapoors, Adi and Farfar, and her Farfar's daughter comes on some of these late night. Anita comes. Anyway, see you guys.
Yes,
Much
Jai
love.
Baba. Much
See you
love.
and on
Baba.
Tuesday if you're inclined.
Baba Ki Jai.
Jai
Baba.
Avantar Meher Baba
Baba.
ki
Jai.
jai.
Har Meher
Baba
Baba
ki
ki
jai.
Baba Ki Jai.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Jeff.
Thank
Thank you,
you
everyone.
all.
so much.
Thank you,
Good
Dinku, for
night.
that poem. That was great.
Good night, all.
And
you like me to
Michael
send it to
Childs.
you?
Yeah, that would be beautiful. Wonderful.
Okay, I'll do that.
Yeah.
I'll send it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
Yeah.
Good night, all.